Okay, fantastic. Let's get going. Welcome again, everyone, to Buyer Mastermind with Katherine Meisenheimer. I'm so excited that we are doing this. Hi, Katherine. Welcome. We're so excited to have you. And we'll jump right in. You want to share your screen?
Yes. So thank you so much, Farah, for inviting me to do this class. I'm excited to be here today to talk about one of my favorite topics, which is buyers and working with buyers. I love working with buyers. But I do actually just want to say up front that I work with sellers too. And if you happen to work not in my market and you have a seller referral for the Metro Boston area or the Greater Boston area, I would love to work with those people too. So I'm always open for your referrals, whether they're sellers or buyers. I work with both, but my business sort of trends towards buyers. I love working with buyers, and at a certain point, I mean, it kind of was just developing that way because that's what was the market was. But at a certain point, I kind of started developing some systems because I realized I really enjoyed buyers and I wanted more buyers. So I started developing some systems to do that. So that's kind of what I'm here to talk about today, which is kind of what I do. This is certainly not the only way to do buyer agency by any stretch. But my goal and my hope is that, if you listen and participate for the next hour, you'll get like a couple, two, three tips, maybe tweaks for things that you haven't tried yet, different things that you can do in your business to maybe take it to the next level. So this is not the only way to do buyer agency, but I really only can talk about what I know and what I do. So I've got 5 topics I'm going to cover. Finding clients to work with, some tips for having a successful buyer consultation meeting and getting that client signed up, ideas for showing and how I do that, what's been effective for me, strategies for writing and negotiating an offer to put my clients in the best position possible to win on terms they feel good about, which I think is always the key. And then using that time between when the offer's been accepted and getting to closing to lay the groundwork for future business. So like really using that time to continue to develop referral relationships. So I'm going to launch right in because I've got a lot to talk about here and it's not letting me forward. There we go. So I'm going to start with finding buyer clients to work with. Um, I, I think there are sort of 2 categories. If you're looking for buyer leads, there's like 2 categories of types of buyer leads. I need buyers right now. How am I going to find buyers to work with right now? And the great news is in all of our markets, there are dozens, hundreds, maybe thousands of active buyers actively looking at houses who are not signed up with an agent that I could be working with. Depending on like how big of a market area you work in, there's at least dozens and probably thousands of potential clients out there who are actively in the market, which is partly why I think buyer leads have always been easier for me than seller leads, because there are not active unrepresented sellers to the same extent that there are buyers. So if you need clients right now, how do you find them? And then if you want to build long-term strategies to have a constant streams of leads coming in from multiple sources, how do you do that? So there's like the clients right now, and then there's the pipeline clients. So starting with clients right now, I think you have to think there are thousands of people out there who are actively looking to buy. How am I going to meet them? You've got to put yourself where they are. And where are they? They are in a couple places. I mean, first they're online. We all know it. They're on Realtor.com. They're on Zillow, Trulia, Redfin, Homes.com, Movoto, whatever site they like. They're on those websites looking at houses. And the great news is all those platforms are capturing their contact information in order to sell it to agents who are looking for potential clients to work with, which could be you. And so it's very possible to buy some leads for people who are actively looking right now who haven't signed up with another agent. This is a numbers game. Most of these leads, let's just call it what it is, most of them are terrible. And they're not going to do anything. You have to get a lot of these leads in order to be able to sort through all the like dirt and rubble and gravel in order to find the diamonds. There are diamonds in there. There are really good clients that you could pick up and work with and sell a house to, and they could become your forever client. There are diamonds in there, but you have to get so many of them to find the diamonds that my advice is sign up for all of the online lead sources where they're not charging you anything up front. They're just asking for a referral fee if it closes. Because if you do it the other way, if you say, I'm going to pay X number of dollars and they're going to guarantee me Y number of leads, you're putting a lot of money out there when you haven't earned any from any of those yet. And with the hope that those, we'll charge you $5,000 and we'll guarantee you 15 leads. It's very possible none of those 15 will do anything. And you don't get that 5,000 back. So it's better to pay the astronomical referral fees if and when something closes, because you can afford to get hundreds of leads and find the diamonds. And you know what? It's really annoying to pay 30 or 35 or 40% as a referral fee, but you're putting 60% in your pocket. 60% of a commission is better than 0% of a commission, and you wouldn't have met that buyer otherwise. So, and you can get so many more leads to be able to pull out the ones that are worthwhile. So don't front the money up front. It's way too expensive. Just sign up for all of them, because you never know which system is gonna, like, somebody will send you something that you can make something of. And then once you start like working with that client, you move up in their algorithm, and then whatever that platform is will start sending you more opportunities, but you don't know which one that's going to be. So just sign up for everything, and then see what works for you. The second place that buyers are active buyers who are actively looking, active in the market, but don't have another agent. Where are they? They're at open houses, because that's how they're looking at houses. They don't have an agent making them private appointments. They're at open houses. So you want to put yourself in their physical space, host open houses. And if you don't have any listings or enough listings right now to host your own open houses, do open houses for other agents. The goal of an open house, I have to remind myself of this too when I have the listing. The goal of an open house, even if it's my listing, is never to sell that house. That is not the point of an open house. The point of an open house is to meet new prospective clients, because there's many people, you have something that people want. You have an opportunity to see this property that they're interested in. So you've got something valuable that people want. And when you do an open house, you're, for your own convenience, creating a time where you are making that thing that you have available to people so that they come to you. So you're saying, I'm going to be there between 10 and 12, and anybody who wants to see it, please show up. And then the leads come to you, walk in the door and say hello. It's a beautiful thing. If you happen to sell the house, that is a happy bonus, but that is not the point. The point is to meet more prospective clients, even if it's your listing. Of course, we never say that to sellers, but because we hope that we do sell, the buyer does walk in the door. But that's the happy bonus for your business. You're doing it to meet prospective clients. And the best way to do that is to do as many open houses as you can. If you don't have very many listings, today is the perfect day, actually, Thursday afternoon. If you want to do some open houses and potentially meet prospective buyers on Thursday afternoons, what I would suggest is just get on MLS and look in your market area, any place you would be willing to work, who at Lair has something on the market that you could go do an open house at. Like if you're looking at Lair's listings and thinking, geez, I'd love to sell a home like that in that community. Most of the people who come to the open house are not buying that house, and that's totally fine. You're selling them whatever you want to buy, get a buyer client that you can sell whatever they want to buy to. So you don't have to be very interested in selling that house, but you'd like to work in that community, or you'd like to work with that type of property. Call that agent. If they haven't scheduled open houses for both Saturday and Sunday, call that agent and say, hey, I notice you don't have anything scheduled for this weekend, or maybe only one day this weekend. I'd love to do an open house at that property. Could I do one for you? Or maybe two for you. Could I do one both Saturday and Sunday? Don't wait for them to call you. Don't wait for somebody to send out a thing through that Lair automated system like, I need coverage. Don't wait. On Thursday afternoon, if they haven't posted an open house, they're probably not doing one. And it's a win for everybody if you do one, because the seller is thrilled, an open house is happening, they have an increased chance to sell their house. The listing agent is thrilled because their client's happy and it's costing them no money and no work. You're happy because you have an opportunity that you wouldn't have had otherwise. And so the deal is that you're not asking for any money to do this. The deal is that you get the leads. Any unaccompanied buyer who comes to that open house is your lead, and you have a chance to try to set to line them up to work with you to sell them whatever they want to buy. And so that's, free for the listing agent, opportunity for you. If you really want to increase your chances of picking up that buyer, remember that you have something they want, which is the opportunity to see homes that they're interested in. If they're not working with another agent, they're probably only mostly going to open houses. And most of them actually don't want this house. They come and look at it and they decide it's not quite right for them, but they're looking for something like this. So what else is on the market that's like this? Whoever it's listed with, Lair or not, what I would suggest is print out all of the listing sheets for all the competing homes and with the pictures and take them to the open house and put them in a folder or a binder or something and have the listing sheets for all the other stuff on the market that's kind of like if it's reasonably similar to this one in a reasonably similar neighborhood in a reasonably similar price range, print it out and take it. Because then if you've got somebody who's standing in the house being like, well, the house is cute, but we don't like the yard. Oh, the yard's kind of small. You can be like, hi, I overheard you say, the house is nice, but the yard's kind of small. Have you seen 123 Elm Street? Here's the pictures. Have you seen this house? Like kind of similar to this one, but the yard's better. What do you think? Are you interested in seeing this one? Oh, which one was 123 Elm? Here it is. Oh, we did like this one, but they didn't have an open house today, so we haven't seen that one yet. Why wait for an open house? I can get you in. Should I make a call? I can probably get you in this afternoon. Do you want me to try? What about tomorrow? Is that a better day for you? Now you're off to the races. Offer them something they want, which is the opportunity to see more homes. So take printouts with the pictures of all the competition, and see if you can pick them up. Because if they want to see another house, now they're going to work with you to get in to see it. Okay, and then this is kind of more of an intermediate strategy, but call all your best people and ask for referrals. These are your like A+++ advocates who you talk to all the time anyway. So call and do your normal check-in. Hi, how's it going? How's the family? Hey, did you see that house in your neighborhood finally went under agreement? Thank God, whatever it is. But what you're working towards is to be able, and they'll actually usually give you an opening because at some point in the conversation, they'll be like, oh, how you doing? How's business? How's the real estate world? And what you always, of course, say is great. I'm busy. Even if you're not working with any clients right now, you are busy. You're making phone calls. You're working on your business. So great, real estate's treating me really well. I'm really busy. But just so you know, here's the key. This is the dialogue that I've been developing that's working really well for me. Just so you know, I'm busy, but just so you know, I have 1 or 2 slots available on my calendar to help a couple more clients. Who do you know who's looking to make a move right now? And this has really been working for me, and I think for a couple of reasons, because it makes them feel like I'm in demand and there's a limited opportunity to be able to work with me. If they have a friend that they want to hook up to the best realtor in town, there's 1 or 2 slots available. Now, I may have 32 slots available, but I say 1 or 2 because it feels like a limited window. And then I say, who do you know? Because I think when I say, do you know anybody? Their natural response is, oh, I'll think about it and get back to you, which of course they never do. It never passes their mind again. The moment we hang up the phone, that's gone. But if I say, who do you know who's looking to make a move right now? And then pause, their natural response is to try to fill in the blank. And if you give them an opening to come up with a name, sometimes they can. They're like, "Oh, you know what? Now that you mention it, my nephew just got engaged and I think they're gonna start looking at houses." "Oh, really? I'd love to work with your nephew. Could you connect us?" Or my neighbor, I've been noticing they're doing a lot of work over there. I think my neighbor's getting ready to put their house on the market in the spring. Oh, really? I'd love to work with your neighbor. Can you connect us? And so it could be something for right now, and it could be something for more like pipeline. But your best referrals, like if you're staying in touch with them and ask in the right way, they can sometimes come up with names if you need clients now. If you need clients, I think that obviously you want clients now, but you also want to be working simultaneously on building your pipeline. There's a lot of different things that you can do. In my opinion, the best thing that you can do is work on developing your database into an evergreen source of referral leads. This is your sphere, your past clients, your friends, all the people that you know, an evergreen source of referral leads because those referrals are free. You're not paying Zillow 30% or 40%. When your friend gives you a lead, that's your lead. And those people come in with a really high level of trust in you because someone they trusted referred you. There's a lot of strategies for doing this. I'm not really going to talk about them because Michael Mayer did a master class on this for Lair within the last year. In case you aren't aware, Michael Mayer is a pretty well-known real estate coach. And there's a lot of people at Lair who coach with him and they pay a lot of money to be coached by Michael Mayer. And this was done for us for free. I mean, Stacy paid for it, but none of us paid for it. It's all on the Lair, training website database. So you can go back, and if you missed it the first time, it is so worth your time to go back and watch the Michael Mayer training. This is like thousands, tens, probably tens of thousands of dollars worth of coaching that you get for free. And it's really all about a number of different strategies for developing your database into an evergreen source of referrals. So go watch the Michael Mayer stuff if you missed it the first time. And as you're working on developing your relationships, don't forget about your vendor partnerships, because other business owners are easier, I think, to get referrals from than clients, because business owners get it. They understand how valuable those referrals are. And if you're referring them to your clients, they want to reciprocate. Like, they want to give you stuff back. They're grateful and they want that to continue. They want to help you too. So the most obvious people for us are the lenders and the financial advisors and sometimes the attorneys, because they have clients that sometimes they know first. They get the first introduction and then they're making an introduction to a realtor. So if a lot of times, especially lenders, but financial advisors too, because they have clients who, like, one of their financial goals that they're helping them with is save money for a down payment to buy a house. But the lenders, especially lenders that work at banks and credit unions, I think a lot of times when somebody thinks, I want to buy a house, we meet them first. But sometimes they go to their bank first. They're like, I know I need a pre-approval. I should go talk to somebody about that. And they naturally go to where they already do their financial business. So the people at lenders at banks and credit unions get walk-ins in a way that I think sometimes the people at the mortgage companies don't. They get their business from us, but don't have as much to give back as they don't have walk-ins. So, but wherever whoever's giving you referrals, cultivate those relationships, because it's very valuable to develop these mutual partnerships. And you have to explicitly, like, talk about it with them, tell them that you want that, like, hey, just so you know, you're my guy. Like, if any of my clients need a plumber, I really respect you and how you run your business. You're my guy. Of course, I'm going to refer you for anybody who needs plumbing services in the area. Do you have somebody like that as a realtor? If not, I'd like to be that person, please. And then you kind of have to train them how to recognize these opportunities. By the way, kind of bonus, this is more about sellers than buyers, but actually most sellers are buyers too. So twofer. The people on the sales side, the people who know about that a house is going to go on the market first is not us. Usually it's not us. It's one of six professionals. It's the clean out people, the painter, the plumber, the electrician, the landscaper, the handyman. I think it was six, but somehow I ended up with seven. Anyway, I counted wrong, but like those six professionals. And so they have referral opportunities for us all the time to potential seller leads that they are completely oblivious to. It's not that they don't want to help us. They're just not even aware that that's what's happening. But they're in houses all the time where they're fixing up the house because the person's getting ready to put the house on the market. And they are just missing all of that all the time. But so if you clue them in that if they are in a house and they're kind of getting the sense, or maybe the seller tells them that they're getting the house ready to sell, all they need to say is, hey, do you have an agent that you're going to plan to work with? And if the answer is yes, great, that's great. And if the answer is no, all I need you to say is, hey, I have a great realtor in town. I know somebody really good in town. Let me connect you. And then I'll take it from there. But they're never going to do that if we don't train them. Okay. So thirdly, long-term leads. I've talked about this in the past. I don't want to dwell on it here, but teach some classes. If you are interested and willing to do some public speaking, develop a class for whatever kind of client you want to work with. This could be buyers, but it doesn't have to be. First-time buyers is the classic one, but it could be, building your multifamily real estate empire. It could be buying your first commercial condo. It could be downsizers, again, seller and buyer, two for the price of one. And the great thing about classes is you kind of develop your class and then you just keep giving the same class again and again and again and again. So you do a lot of work to get it set up initially, but then kind of once you have it down, it becomes a lot less work. And if you could do the same class every 6 months in 2 or 3 different towns, you can build a very deep lead channel. And a lot of these people are, it's not always immediate. They're not always ready right now, but they'll call you and be like, hey, we took your class last year or 6 months ago or whatever, and now we're ready. And the beauty is they're probably not talking to anybody else because they took the class from you. In their mind, you are the expert. Like, this is your lead to lose. So if you are willing to teach some classes, it's a great thing. Just figure out what kind of client you're looking for and develop a curriculum around that. And then there's many, many, many other things that you could do. This is primarily what I do, but there's been a lot of training at Layer on things like lead focused social media strategies and online things, blogs, video posts, home of the week videos that you put on social media, different things like that. If you have talents along those lines, which I feel I do not, but if you have talents along those lines and want to do those kinds of things, there's lots of stuff on the Layer training archive that can give you a lot of other ideas for channels to develop, sort of long-term strategies to be bringing new buyers into your business and sellers too. Okay, so you have a client that you would like to get signed up. You have a prospect and you want to work with them. My best advice is, if at all possible, do a separate buyer consultation meeting, totally independent of going to show them houses, before you go show them houses. It's not always possible, especially with online leads. Sometimes they just want to see the house and they are not going to be willing to meet with you in advance. They just want to see the house, and you may be getting them to sign the contract standing on the street corner before you open the door. But that's not the ideal way to do it, because at that point they're like nervous and a little resentful about signing the contract. And now you have to overcome those negative emotions to build a relationship with them. If at all possible, have a buyer consultation meeting with them ahead of time. And usually what I say is like, hey, I'd love to learn more about your needs and your goals, your timelines, what you're dreaming of for your new home. I would love a chance to explain briefly what the process is so you know what to expect. And I'd love to answer whatever questions you might have about how this is going to work. Do you have like half an hour or 45 minutes? I'd love to meet you at your favorite coffee shop. I'll come to you. When do you have 45 minutes? I'll come to you. Where do you want to meet? Sometimes I do it on Zoom because that's all they're willing to do. But if you can do it in person, so much the better. And I usually have, I always have a few goals when I have to control this conversation. Otherwise, it's going to go in all kinds of non-helpful directions. But my goals are really, truly find out what they want, explain the process and my value proposition, explain why I work by referral. I want to be laying the groundwork even in this initial conversation for that expectation. And then move them towards signing the contract. Those are my 4 goals. And so how I do it is I usually start by letting them talk. I know that's hard to believe, but I try to be quiet and let them talk. But because what I've found is that buying a house for most people is really, really aspirational. This is what they dream their life is going to be. The house is a physical representation of what they dream their life is going to be and what the kind of lifestyle they want to imagine themselves living, what they want for themselves and their family. And the house is the physical representation of that. It's also a physical representation of their success. Like, they have earned this lifestyle that they're trying to achieve by buying this house. Um, and it's how, in a lot of like real ways for people, it's how they like level up their life. So they're buying their first home, they're leaving behind apartment living, they're buying their first home, and that's leveling up their life. They're selling their first home and buying their next home. That's leveling up their life. Even if they're like selling their house and moving to Florida and going to be near their grandkids, now they're going to be near their grandkids. They're retiring. That's leveling up their life. So you have to kind of understand what their aspirations and dreams are, not at all in a manipulative way, but the more I understand about what they need and want and like why that matters to them, the better position I'm going to be in to help them get it. But if I don't know what they want and why, I'm kind of working blind, and they might get what they want, but they might not. So I try to tell them to like close their eyes and picture themselves 6 months down the road. They're living in their new home. What does that look like? And usually what they start off is like, oh, we want a 3-bed, 2-bath, single family ranch in this kind of neighborhood. And I'm like, that's great. Why does that matter to you? Like, and I'm asking like kind of follow-up questions that are trying to get to why. And like, tell me about your life. Tell me about your lifestyle living in that home. I don't usually say it exactly that way, but that's trying to what I'm getting at. Like, I want to know what their dream looks like. This house represents success to them. What does that look like? And I take notes because I want them to feel heard and I want to remember. And then I pull out the buyer flowchart, the buyer monopoly board handout. Somebody at Lair created that. I don't remember who it was now, but whoever you are, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Really, like, genius job. That is my entire buyer presentation. Thank you for that wonderful handout, because I think Farah's going to put it in chat. If you haven't seen it before, it's in Canva. You can customize it for you. And I think it's a wonderful handout because it does give an overview, a very understandable, it's cute, a very understandable overview of the process. And when they look at it, they start to get scared, because there's a lot of boxes on that page, and there's a lot of words in all those boxes, and a lot of those words feel kind of unfamiliar and intimidating. And so it's super helpful because it's like easy to understand and yet scary. And so it gives me an opportunity to say, you don't have to worry about that, because I am going to be with you in every step of the way along this process. That is why you have me. I'm going to guide you through this process. You have nothing to worry about. Every buyer's biggest fear, and sometimes I'll ask them, what is your biggest fear? And about this process. And they'll tell me all kinds of things. But really, what I've noticed is it always boils down to my biggest fear is I'm going to make a mistake. Every buyer is scared that they're going to take their life savings that they're investing in this property. It's their single biggest thing that they own. It is the majority of the wealth they've accumulated in their life, and they're going to lose their money, or they're going to buy a house that they have all these dreams about, and it's going to be terrible. Everybody's ultimately worried they're going to make a mistake. And if so, the more I can reassure them that I am going to be with them, and as much as humanly possible, I am not going to let them make a mistake, the better they feel, the more they trust me, the more likely they are to sign with me, and the more likely they are to be my client for life. So I work them through the buyer flow chart, like kind of at a high level. And I basically, what I tell them now, there are different buyer agent philosophies that are all totally valid. This is mine. And this is what I explain to them. I use the buyer flow chart to kind of explain my buyer philosophy and my value proposition. Because what I tell them is, um, I am not here to sell you anything. You've already decided you're going to buy a house. You don't need me to sell you anything. You don't want me to sell you anything. What you need is somebody who is going to advocate for you and guide you through this process to make sure that you end up at the finish line with your wonderful new home that's everything that you dreamed, without making any mistakes, without like putting your money at risk. I am here to be your advocate and your guide. And so the way that kind of happens through the process changes a little bit. At the beginning, when we're looking at homes, I'm helping you gather information so that you can make a good, well-informed decision about whether or not this is a property you're interested in pursuing. I'm not going to sell you on anything. I'm going to help you gather information so that you can decide. Does that sound good? Oh yeah, that sounds great. Okay, great. So then once you do find a home, then we're going to talk about making an offer. And so my job changes a little bit. Now I'm going to help you figure out strategy, because I want you to, I'm going to help you figure out what is fair for this house in the market. Fair, by the way, is a really useful word in our business. Everybody wants to feel like they're being fair. Everybody wants to be treated fairly. And so if you can contextualize things that are happening in this seems fair, or this is a fair offer from the seller, or what you're doing is fair, this is a very helpful way to contextualize a lot of things in our business. And at this moment, what I will say to people is I'm going to help you figure out what would be fair for this house, and then what is it worth to you? And those things are usually related, but not totally the same. What is this house worth for you, and that worth to you? At what price and on what terms would you be happy to buy it and move in and live there? And then if you can get it at that price and on those terms, great. And if not, you want to walk away because it's not worth it to you. And that's how you avoid making a mistake. You don't get caught up in bidding wars. You don't nickel and dime yourself out of homes you really liked. You don't, like, you figure out, what is this worth to me? And we try to get it for better than that, but at least that. And if we can't, you walk away. Don't fall in love till you know it's yours. Be prepared to be able to walk away. And I'm going to help you do that and help you craft a strategy to put you in a position that you feel if you got the house, you're happy. And if you didn't get the house, you're okay with that decision. Um, does that sound good? And they're like, oh yeah, that sounds great. Great. So then once your offer gets accepted, then all of these other things happen at the bottom quadrant of the flow chart. And this is like, just so you know, the loan officer is going to take a step forward, but I'm not abandoning you. They're going to be your day-to-day contact, but I'm still here as your project manager, advocating for your interest to make sure that everything is happening at the right time and kind of in the right way, helping you manage this complicated loan process so that your money is never at risk and your house isn't at risk. Um, And so I become your project manager. So I'm not going to just like abandon you and disappear. Does that sound good? Oh, yeah, that sounds great. Great. So let's talk about the contract. And then I pull out the contract. Oh, here's the buyer agent flow chart. Sorry, I forgot to forward the slides. Okay, here's the slide about everything I just said. Then I pull out the contract. And I really focus on two things. One is the timeline, and the second is how I get paid. Um, and so on the timeline, this is my personal strategy. Other people could choose differently and it's completely valid, but this is what I tell people I'm doing. I usually, I mean, if I know they're signing with me, I'll do like 6 months or whatever. But if I don't know that for sure, I will usually initially propose a 3-month contract because I feel like it takes a lot of the anxiety for them out of signing it. It doesn't feel so long that they feel handcuffed. And I'll actually say that to them. I don't want you to feel handcuffed. I think 3 months, hopefully we'll find a house. You'll be living in your home at the end of 3 months. But if not, we can always renew. But if for some reason the relationship is not working out the way that you hoped, and you feel like if you ever were feeling like I'm holding you back from finding your home, we're committed for 3 months. And then after that, you can make a different choice. No harm, no foul, no hard feelings. So then they feel less anxious about signing the contract. That I do 3 months for that reason, usually. And then I talk about the money, and we all have to talk about the money. What is our commission expectation? What are we asking for? Whatever you decide to do is your business, but you need to present it. But then here's the language that has been really helpful for me, again, to take the anxiety out of this. I tell them what I'm doing, and then I say, just to be totally clear, if you sign this contract, you're promising that if you buy a house within this time period, you'll make sure that I get paid, but it doesn't have to be you who pays me. And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah. In fact, I don't expect that it won't be you who pays me. Because look, in the next paragraph, which the Massachusetts Association of Realtor forms, in the very next paragraph where you talk about, you fill in the blanks for your commission, the very next paragraph, there's like legally language that basically boils down to the agent is first going to seek to get paid by the seller or the seller's brokerage. And so I like highlight that language or underline it. You may use a different form, but similar language is probably in there somewhere. I like highlight that language and like, yeah, so you're promising to make sure get paid if you buy a house, but it doesn't have to be you who pays me. And we're going to try to make it not be you. My expectation is that the seller is going to pay because that's how business works. You don't have that kind of money lying around. This is your down payment. And so we're going to write it in your offer as a term of your offer, just like your price is a term of your offer, just like your closing date, your inspection, your mortgage contingency, all your other terms. This is just another term. And if the seller won't agree to this or any other fair and reasonable thing that you ask for, don't buy the house. We'll go on and find something else. I'm never going to pressure you to pay me the difference or to pay me. We will find a different house if the seller won't play ball. It's just we're writing it in the offer. It's a reasonable term of your offer. Reasonable is also a helpful word. And then I say, but just so you know, if you if we try our best and the seller won't agree to cover this full amount, and you say, and you are like, I really love this home. This is the one I want. I'm willing to cover the difference. I'm not going to stop you. If that's your choice, I'm not going to stop you, but I'm never going to pressure you to do that. So if you decide you really want it, it's up to you. But my expectation is that we'll move on and find a different home if the seller won't cover it. And so that has been really helpful for me since I've started doing that in the last like several months, because it takes off the table the idea that they can get me to lower my commission later to cover the difference. That was not one of the three options. There are three options. The seller covers the commission and you buy the house. The seller does not cover the commission and you do not buy the house. The seller does not cover the commission and you make up the difference. Those are the three options that I presented. There was never a discussion of Katherine will drop her commission to make this work. And so this has worked out for me because I've had about 5 clients this year where I had this conversation in the buyer presentation. And despite our best efforts, they know I tried. The seller's only like covering most of my commission, but not the full percentage. And they come to me and say, you know what, this is what we talked about. We've done the math. We really love this house and we're getting a pretty good deal on it. We feel like this is a really good price for this. It's very fair. Like they're starting to mirror this fair language back. We feel like this is really fair, but we know that we don't want you to get screwed. Like we've done the math, we have the money, we'll cover the difference. They bring it up. I'm like, okay. And I've never suggested it, but they suggest it to me. They want to make the deal work and not lose the house. And so I'm like, okay, if that's your choice, I'll write it in the offer. So since I've been having this conversation in this way, that has kind of gone. I probably just jinxed myself now that my next client's going to be like, can't you drop your commission to make this work? But so far, so good. Okay, so let's talk about going out and looking at houses with your buyers because I need to move on here. Some tips for things that are working for me for showing strategies. As much as possible, I show in person. I never want my clients to go out without me if I can avoid it. Buyer agency is a contact sport in a way that much more than seller agency is. And the good news is I know my buyers better and I get a lot more referrals from them as a result. With a seller, you may see them like once or twice in the whole transaction in person. Like you do the listing presentation and then they're not there at the showings. They're not there at the inspection. They better not be. Like you may not actually physically cross paths with them again. They don't go to in my area at least, they don't go to the closing, so I don't go. So like I don't actually physically see them very much. We're on the phone all the time, but that's not the same as being with them for hours every week, looking at houses and talking about their family situation and is this going to work? So show in person, it builds confidence in them, it builds trust in them, it builds the relationship for the long term with them. Plus, it's just you're able to give them better advice if you've seen the house. Um, because I always look out loud. I tell them I'm going to do that, and then I do. I tell them whatever I'm looking at, I tell them what I'm seeing, the good, the bad, the ugly, the indifferent, whatever I'm looking at, I point it out, and then I, if necessary, try to explain the implications of what that means. So it's an education for them on how to professionally evaluate a house. Because one thing I've realized is that most buyers buy emotionally, but they need to be able to justify it logically. And so, I need to point out the good stuff and the bad stuff, and I need to give them a frame of reference to be able to justify their decision logically. And so, a couple of dialogues that I've developed that have been helpful for me in doing that. Um, this is something I've been starting. I don't think this is 100% refined, but I've been starting in the last like couple years to say a lot more. I'll say things like, you know what? You can afford to buy this house. It's within your pre-approval range. It's in your budget. Like you've done the math. You can afford the monthly payment. You can afford to buy this house. Can you afford to own it on an ongoing basis? Do you want to afford to own it long term? Because being able to buy it is not the same as being able to afford to own it. And so this gives them a framework to think through whatever issues may exist with this house and do they want to take this on? And so they're going into it with eyes wide open. I always want my people to go into it with eyes wide open. I never want them to be mad at me later. Like, and I tell them, none of us is God. There's no perfect knowledge. We're doing the best we can within human limitations. You could move in and find out something that we didn't know. It's possible, but we're going to do our best. So I'm going to tell you what I'm seeing. And then, you should think about, you can afford to buy this, but can you afford to own it? Do you want to afford to own it? Is it worth it to you to take on whatever it is? And like pros and cons, I try not to make it sound like, oh my God, this house is going to be so expensive to own, but that has been a helpful construct for people, I think. And then the other thing that I talk about a lot, I've been doing this for a long time, is actually from the very first house I sold, which was in a terrible location. I think I've told that story before. And the buyer was like, "I love it." And I'm like, "Really? Okay." So I learned this like in the very first house I sold, but basically this is I think a line that's really helpful for like condition issues that are not easily changed. You can afford to own it, but can you afford to own it is I think a helpful conversation about like thinking about what repairs and upgrades and things they might want to do and do they want to take those things on. Not only that, but it's helpful for that. But if there's like a super busy street and it's really noisy, if there's a cemetery across the street, if they don't have a garage and everything else in town in this price range has a garage, this one doesn't have one. There's train tracks behind the house. Like it's helpful for conditions about the property, often like property or neighborhood conditions, not the house. Sometimes it's weird layout, but it's usually not the house. It's other stuff that sometimes they're just like missing. I'm like, so I see this thing that exists. Would that bother you? And I kind of try to say it in that like neutral, curious tone. Would that bother you? And then see what they say. Because they may very well say like, you know what? Yeah, now that you point that out, it's really loud. Like, would it prevent you from enjoying your deck in your yard? Would you just like never use your deck? Maybe. Like 3 years from now, is it still going to be bothering you, or would you kind of get used to it? I think it's still going to bother me. Is this the right house? What do you think? Can you get past it? But if asking like, I see this thing, would it bother you? It lets them think it through. And sometimes they're like, no, it's fine. Like, great, great. Or sometimes they're like, well, I mean, it's not ideal, but it's how I'm going to be able to afford a house in this town, or I couldn't afford the school district otherwise, or if I'm willing to accept this because I can buy a single family and not a condo, and I couldn't afford a condo or a single family otherwise. So I'm willing to do this. I know it's not ideal. I'm like, great. I would never tell you not to buy it for this reason. If it's okay with you, great. Just so you know, it will bother some people. So great news. It might be less competitive than some of the other houses we're looking at, because some people will look at this and say, it's not for me. And you should know that when you go to sell the house in the future, this thing will still be true. And so you'll probably sell it for less than you would otherwise if this thing were not true. You'll sell it for less than other similar houses that don't have this issue, whatever it is. So I'd never say don't buy it for this reason. We're just going to buy it at the right price. Knowing that this is the reality of what this house is, we're just going to buy it at the right price. Does that sound good? Yeah. Okay, good. So let's talk. What is fair for this house given this thing? I never want to be having this conversation 8 years from now when I'm trying to sell that house from them, and now they suddenly realize that this thing that they didn't actually care about is a detriment. I pointed it out to them. We took it into consideration when they bought it. I can remind when I'm going to sell the house for them later, I can remind them that they bought it cheaper too. They may be selling it cheaper, but they bought it cheaper. It's fair. Um, I do also have to remember to be enthusiastic. This is like things for me because it can be a little sarcastic, or sometimes just tired or cranky or bored, because this gets to be very like showing houses can feel really routine for us, or we're tired and cranky because we've already shown 5 houses to 3 other people by the time we meet up with these people. They're excited. This is, they have not seen 6 other houses today. They're excited about this one. I have to be excited about this one. So I always try to remember, like, get out of the car, be positive. Great to see you. I'm super excited to see this. Looks so cute. I'm really, happy that you picked out this one to go see. Let's go look. We're going to have fun. I have to be like, let's have fun. Let's go look at this house. And like, it's a great day to look at houses. I say that all the time. It's a great day to look at houses. I'm so glad you called me and said you wanted to see this one. And even if it's like pouring rain, it's a great day to look at houses. We'll see all the water leaks. So be enthusiastic. We get to the point for many of my clients where they're looking at me for the cue on how they should react. They may love the house, but if I'm kind of bored, they interpret that as she thinks something's wrong that we're just not seeing, and they won't buy it. So I have to be cheerful and present and make them this is fun for them. I have to make them feel like they're having fun looking at houses. But I do have to also, again, I guess going back to being honest and like helping them know what they're getting into, eyes wide open. I do want to help them do their due diligence. A lot of times they don't even know the questions they should be asking. And I need to be cluing them in that they need to call the condo association and ask about this thing, or we need to go over to the building department and look at the building jacket. Or we need to call the conservation commission to ask about something, or the police department. If they're worried about safety, please call the police department and have that conversation. Talking to neighbors can be a super valuable strategy and they never want to do it. So you'll need to start the conversation. So they'll be like, no, that's weird. I'm like, no, that's fine. Hi, neighbor. And then like after you get past the first 30 seconds of awkward, everybody figures out what's going on and then they have a nice conversation. Random strangers on the street, once they figure out why you're approaching them, they love to be asked their opinion. They'll talk to you for 5 minutes. And then when you walk away, most of the time, the buyers like it is external validation that they're making a good decision and importantly, not making a mistake. Because they met some totally random person on the street who lives in the neighborhood who said they like it there. And they're like, oh, that was so helpful. They were so nice. This neighborhood seems really nice. Like, great. Do you want to make an offer? because it can be the last kind of push that they need to get over. It's really scary to put pen to paper and commit your life savings to buying something. If they meet a neighbor and they're like, that person was nice and they said the neighborhood's nice, it can be with the push they need. And occasionally, through whatever due diligence you're helping them do, neighbor conversations or whatever else, sometimes you'll help them find out something that actually changes their mind. They were thinking about making an offer and now they're not going to. And while that's momentarily disappointing for me, I will tell you that I have made more money in the long run by helping people not buy houses, because now they really know that I have their best interests at heart. Now they really, really trust that that is true. And that if they feel like, especially if they feel like I saved them from making a mistake, they will never work with anybody else ever again. And they'll never let any of their friends work with anybody else ever again either, because I was honest with them. And I took the time to help them do some due diligence that maybe they didn't even know they needed to do. And it saved them from a mistake. And then they went and found another house and they moved in someplace else. I sold them something else. They're thrilled and they feel like I saved them. Now they're loyal. So whatever you need to do, like do the due diligence. Don't be afraid to find out the bad stuff. Tell them the bad stuff. It's better in the long run. Eyes wide open, and you never want them to be mad at you later. And you build loyalty, really. So you do find a property they want to make an offer on. A couple tips for writing and negotiating offers. Again, things that are working for me right now. My market is still really competitive. I know that's not true everywhere, but my market is still pretty competitive. And even if it's not competitive, just general good tips. First of all, I would say be an agent other agents want to work with. I will tell you at least once a year, I will get a call, and this is usually in a competitive situation, but at least once a year, I'll get a call from an agent and they'll be like, Katherine, we have another offer, but I'd rather work with you. And then they'll do things like say, I have another offer that's 7,000 higher. I'd rather work with you. Can you match that offer? And I'll get them to sign your offer instead. I'm like, let me see what I can do. Which is way better than like best and final, where you're taking a stab in the dark and maybe you offered 10,000 more and you only really needed to go 7. Plus, my client got that property when they weren't going to win, because I was an agent that they wanted to work with. And I am perfectly aware that this is not always because I'm so awesome. Sometimes it really is because the other agent is so terrible and I just look good in comparison. But you know what the reality is? That agent lost their client the house. They were the winning offer and they didn't get it because their agent was so terrible. So be a pro, be competent, be professional, be respectful, be responsive. Put the offer together in a way that makes you look like a pro, like put it all together in one file. Dotloop makes it easy to select all the documents and download it as one file instead of 8 different files. Make it easy for the seller to do their job. You look professional. You look like an agent who knows what you're wanting, what they're doing. You look like an agent who knows how to bring this deal to closing. Just in the way you present your offer. I always do a little cover note, because I know that if I'm doing my job, I am making it super easy for the seller's agent to just forward my email with the offer attached directly to the seller. And then whatever I've written in my email, the seller reads. So buyers often can't do love letters anymore because listing agents won't present them for fair housing reasons, but they'll just forward my email. I can do the love letter in my email and it just gets forwarded straight to the seller. So I will do a little introductory email, like kind of selling my clients and my offer with a little bullet point of the summary of the offer and why this is an advantage for the seller. And it gets just sent straight to them. Again, now I'm an agent the seller wants to work with. So be an agent other people want to work with, like be professional and present professionally, and be nice. You can advocate really hard you can negotiate really hard for your client and not be a jerk. I usually ask whether or not it's competitive, if I'm going to write an offer, I always ask, what's going to make a difference to the seller? Again, like the mere fact that I asked that question, the listing, my approval rating with the seller's agent goes up because I'm trying to make their job easy. And I look like a professional who knows what they're doing and how to, like, that's a great question to ask. I look like I know what I'm doing and I'm going to get this to closing if they go with my offer. So ask the seller's agent, what's going to make a difference for the seller? And then, if possible, try to give it to them and use it as leverage to get what your client wants. So if you know that they want some weird schedule and your client's like, well, I mean, okay, I guess, but And I'm like, okay, but we're going to ask for the lawnmower and all the, like, we're going to get the dining room table that you loved. And like, seller doesn't care about any of that stuff. They'll leave you some free things. Like, let's get some free stuff. Oh, so like we're structuring an offer that's a win for everybody. Um, Sometimes it doesn't work. The seller asks for something and the buyer's like, well, I mean, I don't really actually want to do that. I'm like, make the offer anyway. The worst that happens is they're going to say no. But if you don't make an offer, you definitely will not buy the house. The worst they say is no, put the offer out there. We can't always do what the listing agent said that the seller wanted, but at least if we know, at least we know what we're going into and they don't have unrealistic expectations that this is like, they're kind of going in knowing that it might work or it might not. Um, and then I would say it's really easy, again, in my market that's still really competitive, but even if it's not, your client may make an offer that doesn't work out for whatever reason. You know, this, you just couldn't come to terms, or there was a bidding war and we didn't win. It can be really disappointing. You never want to be in a position where you lose the client just because you lost an offer. And that can easily happen because people get discouraged. And so I always try in advance to start having this conversation before they write the offer, that just so you know, it could happen that this is not going to work. Remember, we're going to make the offer that you feel good about. And if we can't come to terms, you're going to walk away. And so it might, you know, we hope it's going to work, but it might not work. And if it doesn't work, I want you to be prepared that your emotions are going to tell you one of two lies. And you just need to know that your emotions are lying to you. And then if it happens, I kind of pull it back out and we maybe talk about it some more. But like really the lies are, I missed out on my dream home. And what your emotions say is, I missed my dream home. That house was perfect for me, and nothing is ever going to be as good again. And now I'm doomed to a less happy life because I didn't get that house. Which, when you say it out loud, of course, is ridiculous. And so I'm like, I'll say that, and then we'll like all kind of chuckle. Or like, of course, that's ridiculous. But that's what it feels like in the moment. I'm doomed to a less happy life. And so you have to recognize that your emotions are lying to you. The reality is that there are thousands of houses that you could buy and move into and live a perfectly happy life. And if you don't get one, all it means is another one is coming. And I won't stop if you won't stop. We're going to keep going and find your right house. There'll be another opportunity. There's another house coming. We'll just keep going. There's something else coming down the pike for you, and it'll probably be better than this one. I've seen it happen 1,000 times. So it's a marathon, not a sprint. And in some ways, it's kind of an endurance test. Can you like get past the disappointment and keep going and realize that your emotions are lying to you and not stop? The other lie that your emotions sometimes will tell you, especially in competitive situations, when people have lost a few different times, they really start to feel like that it's hopeless. Everybody else is richer than them and better qualified than them, and they're never going to win because everybody else is better. And so I try to acknowledge that too. Like your emotions might tell you this, and that is not true. You are perfectly qualified to buy a house in this price range. We might lose several times. It's nothing to do with you. It is the market reality. It's not you. You are qualified. And I believe your house is going to be out there. I'm not going to stop if you don't stop. But you have to, I think, acknowledge the reality of what they're feeling because otherwise you lose them. They get discouraged and they quit. Okay, I've got about 5 minutes left, and I really want to talk about that time between when the offer is accepted and you get to the closing table, because this actually is the referral sweet spot. Because, and it's easy for us to lose the plot here because we're busy and, you know, the lender does take a step forward and it's kind of easy to let go of the reins and let the lender like take it from here and we move on to other clients who are demanding our attention, sellers, buyers. We've got other people who are actively looking and this one's kind of taken care of. So we kind of drop the reins and it is a shame because this is the referral sweet spot. And it's where you really solidify all this work that you have done up until this point to build the relationship with this client. This is when it really all comes together because you are helping them go through this like difficult mortgage process and get it to the closing table. I mean, you want to get paid, and so does everybody else on the team. So you're staying in touch with the team, i.e., your top referral partners, and helping them get the deal to closing so that we all get paid. They get paid, I get paid. So, you know, calling the lender and being like, do I need to call the condo association and try to get that document? Like, can I help with this? They appreciate that. They may say no, but they appreciate you're at least aware of what's going on and trying to help. And if they are the ones, remember, if they're the ones who have the buyer lead first and they're putting together the team, you want them to be like, Katherine is a really good buyer's agent. because they have personal experience with that, because I've stayed in touch with them and helped them get the deal to closing. And also all this work that you have put into building the relationship with your buyer, if you kind of don't then talk to them very much for like 3, 4, 5 weeks until they close, all that trust starts to dissipate. And not because they're not mad at you, but you're not there anymore and they're forgetting about you already. And so instead, if you're like really actually are helping them project manage and calling them once a week, hey, what's going on? What questions do you have? How can I help right now? Like, what do you need? Do you anything I can help with right now? A lot of times they say no, but they always have a question. They always come up with some question that they're embarrassed to ask anybody else, but they'll ask me because they trust me. But just staying present with them. And then it gives me an opportunity to kind of constantly be saying to them, hey, by the way, remember what we talked about right now is when you're going to be talking to other people who tell you they're also looking to buy. Because that is true. This is the referral sweet spot. When they have gotten their offer accepted, now they have a house and they are super excited. It is real. They're buying something tangible. They are talking about it nonstop every day to everyone they speak with. They're showing the pictures nonstop. And it's inevitable that somebody's going to say to them, oh, your house is so cute. We're so excited for you. We can't wait to come see it. Hey, we're thinking about moving next year too. Oh, really? Please connect me. So it's not that my clients don't know I'm looking for referrals. It's not that they've forgotten that. It's just that in that moment, they are excited and proud and they're kind of bragging about their new house. They're not thinking about me. They're thinking about their new house. And so the moment like passes them by, they're just totally oblivious to that referral opportunity unless I remind them it exists. But this is where I get referrals from my active buyers most because they are talking to people and showing their house and people are saying, oh, we're thinking about moving next year too. And I think finally, one of the things that we as an industry do really poorly is the closing process. And this is again like your last chance to solidify that foundation for future business. Because the final walkthrough and the closing is the culmination of all their hard work. It's their moment of success. They have achieved their dream. That thing you talked about first in the first buyer meeting is coming true. And we are not there for it. And it's boring. It's totally antiquated. They show up in a dingy, dark conference room, sign their name 100 times for an hour, and that's it. And so all of this like pride and excitement and joy and success that they're feeling is like not validated. So I think we need to use the final walkthrough and the closing to create a core life memory. This can be a core life memory. By the day we bought our house can be a core life memory of joy and success and pride and achievement. And you can be present in that memory if you're actually there. Like you need to make it a party, take brownies, take balloons, like take them out to lunch, take pictures, make it a celebration, and be at the closing, making all that happen and being present. Because when I want them, the last physical memory they have of being in my presence, I want to be associated with that feeling of success when I handed them the keys. So go to the closing and make it a party. And I think that is like, that puts the capper on the relationship that you've built and your chances of getting referrals, a lifelong client and referrals in the future from this person. So that's it for me. I am exactly on time, but I'm so proud of myself. But do we have any time for questions?
We do, but also I put the PDFs that we discussed in the chat. Can you talk about them? Why I work by referral and hidden sources of wealth. And I can, if it
Okay.
is helpful, I can share my screen for whichever one you would like to share first.
Okay. So the why I work by referral, I usually put that in my buyer presentation packet. So I use one of the like blue layer folders and I will have I have the contract, I have the Massachusetts, because I work in Mass, there's a required disclosure. So that's in there. This is in there. And then also the flow chart. That's what's in the packet. And this is in the packet because again, I'm establishing from the beginning that I work by referral. So what I say to them is just so you know, I'm different from a lot of other agents out there. My business is built primarily on referral, especially if they were a referral from another person, like just like you were referred to me. And I do that because it's more fun for me. I got in this business to help people buy houses, not to market myself. Most people are worried about where their next deal is coming from. They have to make a living. And so they're spending a lot of time and energy marketing themselves to try to find their next deal. And just so you know, I do almost none of that. And it's true, I don't. I have always felt that if it's more fun for me, and if I do a good job working with my clients and making sure they are having an amazing experience, I will be taken care of. I don't need to worry about it. Like it'll come back to me, I'll be taken care of. But the way it comes back to me is you. All I need from you is that when you come across somebody who says we're thinking about making a move too, you connect me. And if you do that, I can focus on you rather than on marketing me. So I'll spend my time on you. It's a value add for them. So I include this in my buyer package. And then the hidden sources of wealth. This is something that I don't coach with Michael Mayer. I coach with Brian Buffini's company. This is something, actually both of these handouts are from Buffini, and they said that I could pass them on to Lair. Anybody at Lair can use them. So that was nice of them. But this is a kind of a checklist that you can fill in, like who is my preferred vendor partner in all of these different categories. And so that you can start having these referral conversations like, you're my preferred roofer, you're my preferred foundation guy, you're my preferred locksmith. I want to be your preferred realtor. And, here's how here's how I refer you, here's how you could refer me. So these are the hidden sources of wealth. Like, don't forget your vendors. If that's helpful for you, you can fill this out, and you can kind of also start to see where like you have gaps in your referral directory. Like when people ask you, I need a whatever, do you have somebody to refer them? So those are those two things. What else?
That was it. That was it. Thank you so much. We did have a couple of people. Oh, there is one question in the Q&A. 1 second. Can you
Okay.
please send the 2 docs to attendees? Yes, Victor. Would you like, I can email it, or the docs are in the chat. So if you can quickly, I'll hold on a few seconds if you have a moment to click the PDFs and download it. That would be easiest, but I can definitely send it on over to you, Lindsay, if you would like me to. I can share it with you as well. That was amazing,
Thank you,
Catherine. Thank you
everybody.
so much I will email it to you, promise, Lindsay.
Thanks for the kind words in chat. That's very kind of you.
Yes, no, you're such a fantastic presenter. We have such a great time. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Lindsay. I appreciate it. All right. Have a great day, everybody, and have a wonderful
Bye.
weekend. Bye.